everyone, ladies, gentlemen, and otaku alike, this is Recall Reviews. I recall it for you. Now, it seems like everything that can go wrong has gone wrong this month. Whether it be me getting sick causing me to be unable to edit, or my entire editing program completely crashing and me needing to redo everything that I already had finished. Or bullshit copyright battles on YouTube. I was determined to get 3 videos out, and 3 I shall have. So let's get right into Air the Motion Picture. Our movie starts off with a voiceover by Vic Mignogna explaining what a true journey is and the criteria surrounding something that would be known as a true journey. We're introduced to the main protagonist, Yukito, who is himself on a journey, and yes, voiced by Vic Mignogna. He then goes on to explain that he feels like he's the only member in an audience watching a play as he goes from town to town and watches people's lives play out. He also expresses his thoughts on him feeling that it's only coincidence that he's in this town, where in future events we're going to see it was very much fated for this to happen. We next have a scene where Yukito is reminiscing about his past, more so moments before he started his travels. He goes on to say how his mother was explaining to him that in his travels he will meet a girl bound to the sky who is alone. And this is important because this is going to be something that is going to be talked about pretty heavily throughout the rest of this movie. We're now introduced to our next protagonist, Mizuzu, voiced by Monica Rial. She goes on to explain the beginning histories of the original winged woman, who was captured and locked up in a mountainside prison. When she was captured, she goes on to explain that she was pregnant with child. After birthing the child, she was taken away from her mother and forced into an empire estate on the other side of the mountain. She then goes on to explain the beginning history of the winged woman in the sky, Princess Kana. The very next day, we're led to our first interaction between our 2 main characters.
Tell me you didn't see that.
Kinda hard to miss.
Yeah, I guess.
So, are you okay, or...
Could you do me a favor and at least pretend you didn't see it?
Hey, don't worry. I'm sure I'll forget about it in no time. Besides, you falling on your face isn't really any of my business.
Right, that's good.
Yeah, you're lucky you didn't get hurt. Be careful.
So the initial interaction between our main characters was short-lived, and after this really nice oil painting scene transition, we're thrown immediately into a flashback that depicts scenes of the past, specifically with Princess Kana looking out at Ryuya, who will be her future love interest.
Oh, there you are.
Uraha, who is that?
Huh? What are you pointing at, Princess?
You see, over there, that person. Oh no, he's looking this way.
Mizuzu then goes on to explain a little bit more of the story, which bears striking resemblance to her own situation. Coincidence? I think key animation.
Hey, what's with you kids, anyway? So, what happened to your little Gamera fella? You know, your little turtle friend from yesterday?
That was for you, crazy stargazer, hoping to invade your channel very soon. We next have Yukito putting on a telekinetic puppet show for a bunch of kids at a park. Mizuzu happens to walk by and notice him. Now, this brings the question, how does he know how to do this? At least in the show they explain that his mother taught him, but then who taught his mother? We next have a scene where Yukito is helping Mizuzu with her assignment that she was given earlier on in the movie. I didn't bring any attention to this because it was a relatively minor and short-lived scene. Yukito then explains that he's only in this specific town for their summer festival at the shrine, where he can make some decent cash putting on that puppet show. That being said, we have more scenes of Mizuzu and Yukito working on the field project that Mizuzu calls it. We then get a little insight to the history of the building that they're in and how Mizuzu used to go there in elementary school. Mizuzu goes on to exposit a little more about Princess Kana, as well as Kana's mother, Yabikune. They even go to visit the place where supposedly Yabikune was locked up. We next have a scene where Yukito explains to Mizuzu just about everything she needs to know about him.
I don't really like people, so I tend to avoid crowded places. You know, whenever that's possible.
Oh, yeah?
Especially chummy families where the parents and kids get along. Makes me sick. And they have those really fake smiles. You know what I'm talking about, the parents and the kids. I mean, they'd never smile like that at home. I don't want them watching my show.
But a festival is better?
I don't know, but I always felt like people at a festival are more connected, that their laughter is actually sincere.
So that's it? That's what makes them okay? That's all? Just sincerity?
Well, yeah. What do you care anyway? For your information, I've never met anyone who truly is sincere. It doesn't exist. Everybody's fake, in one way or another.
Yukito parts ways with Mizuzu, only to find that she tracks him down and invites him to stay with her until the end of the festival. We now have Yukito and Mizuzu at her house when we're introduced to Mizuzu's mother, who literally comes crashing in. We next have the first actual meeting between Yukito and Haruko.
My, aren't you handy? It's so nice to have a big, strong man around to keep up with all the repairs we need in this place.
This is just a temporary fix. I have to get some wood, some plywood, and some tools to fix it right.
Well, you can stay here as long as you like if you don't mind sleeping in the shed. I'll go back to the house and get you a blanket and some sheets.
You mean I can stay?
Make you nervous to be living with two extremely hot ladies?
Yeah, no.
Now tell me the truth, have you kissed her yet?
Who?
My precious little girl, Mizuzu.
No, I haven't done anything.
What the hell's wrong with you? Come on in when you're done. I'll make you some tea.
After a scene that takes place in the next morning, we have a little lengthier of a flashback that depicts Princess Kana and Ryuya the night that she will soon fall in love with, spending more and more time together. Ryuya demonstrates he very much has the same power as Yukito. Coincidence? I think key animation. While Yukito and Mizuzu are out doing more field research for her summer project, Mizuzu is expositing more backstory about Princess Kana. More specifically, the curse of the winged people. She goes on to say that the curse of the winged people is that they may not confess their love for the one that they feel destined to be with, for if they do, they will be dead by the next moon. So pretty much if you say I love you, you're gonna be dead very soon. We next have a scene where Haruko is going to the local physician to drop off all the recent info about Mizuzu. Yes, as it turns out, Mizuzu has some unidentified illness that is slowly killing her. Because what would a key animation show be without a character with some mysterious illness and or affliction? While they're out, Yukito makes a striking revelation.
What did you wish for back there? It looked serious, whatever it was.
You know what I wished? I just stood there and thought, please take care of my mother. That was my wish.
What do you mean by that, Mizuzu?
I don't know. That's just what I felt at the time. It's funny. But I had a completely different wish in mind when I went up there.
It's kind of weird.
I know, right?
Just 'cause. I mean, usually it's someone who's dying, isn't it? When someone's dying, they ask the gods to take care of the people they're leaving behind.
Mizuzu goes on to explain more of the story of Princess Kana and Yaobikini, this time telling Yukito about it, who doesn't really buy it. She then continues on to explain more about how the people of the times were afraid of the winged people, so they would lock them up for the remainder of their lives. She then reveals more about Yaobikini herself.
Yaobikini, who had gained eternal life by eating the flesh of the mermaids, was thrown into a dark cave that would become her prison.
Wait. Can you say that again?
Yaobikini, who had gained eternal life by eating the flesh of the mermaids.
What?! After that little bit of what the actual shit fuckery, how does that make any sense at all? We have another lengthy flashback in the past that depict Ryuya and Princess Kana talking about how she'd like to go visit the ocean as she's never been allowed outside, where the guards come to stop them and explain it like it is. The Emperor himself commanded that she may never leave under any circumstances, and the general makes it clear that if Ryuya wants to get her outside, he'd have to be branded a traitor and kill every last one of them. Now back in present time, Mizuzu continues the story with Yukito, and explains to him what happened after the prison guards stopped Ryuya and Princess Kana. She goes on to explain that in his ventures in the world, while he was out on his various missions as a samurai for the Emperor, he would come back with stories of the outside world for her. It's at this point where Yukito firsthand sees Mizuzu's health declining. After a short scene that happened earlier, Yukito questions Haruko about the health condition of Mizuzu, and she declines to give really an honest answer. With that said, we're introduced to yet another character by the name of Sky, who, yes, is this crow. Mizuzu goes on to explain how Sky is one of her most best friends, and how he promises to take her with him one day. If you can't find the symbolism in that, then I can't spell it out any clearer than what it is. We next have a scene where Mizuzu actually tries to make a move on Yukito, and it goes about as well as you think.
Way up, way above the highest clouds in the sky. He hasn't told me when just yet, but someday we'll go into the sky. And then I'll see how amazing everything is. I'll see everything clearly.
The reason for this is because, well, the reason that Yukito explained earlier, that he doesn't want to get close or really get to know anyone in his travels, because the way he sees things is there's not a genuine, sincere person in the world and everyone's fake. And he decides to try and make a leave, but Mizuzu says that she'll follow him regardless. So he reluctantly decides to stay because he genuinely does care about her well-being and doesn't want her condition to get any worse. In the following scene, Mizuzu explains to Yukito that Haruka and herself aren't actually mother and daughter. Instead, she goes on to explain that her mother died a long time ago when she was little, and that Haruko is her mother's older sister. So her Aunt Haruko has been taking care of her since she was a little girl. She then goes on to explain that she looks at Haruko like her real mother. After a small scene that genuinely makes my head hurt, we have more of Mizuzu expositing information about Princess Kana and Ryuya. She goes on to explain that over time Princess Kana did fall deeply in love with Ryuya. With that said, she ignores the consequences of the curse of the winged people and confesses her love to Ryuya. We next have a scene where Yukito confronts Haruko about a cabinet of untouched prescriptions with medication intended for Mizuzu. She then goes on to tell Yukito that Mizuzu refuses to take them because she knows that they won't do anything for her. She then tells him that no matter what they've done or tried, she's only getting worse by the day. We're then led into a scene where Yukito once again firsthand sees how bad that Mizuzu is getting. How now not only her health but now her body itself is starting to fail her. Yukito says he thinks it would be best for them to head back to Mizuzu's house so that she can rest. She elects to keep going because she claims to be fine. Then we get a quick little scene that shows the parallels and the relationships between those of the past and those in the present. Mizuzu has Yukito take her back to the old elementary school, and here we have possibly the most blunt love confession from Mizuzu.
Take it easy, alright? Just slow down.
Okay. I kind of like it whenever you call me by my name, Yukito. Something about it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. If you want to, you can start acting more like my boyfriend.
Yukito follows Mizuzu back to this tree behind the school, where she's digging up something that she claims that she buried a long time ago when she was a little girl. It's revealed that these are old photos of her and her mom before she died. Looking at the photos one last time, Mizuzu finds a new resolve and decides to let the memories of the past go by burning the pictures that she had in the tin. She then once again gives an even more straightforward love confession to Yukito, and then we have the following scene.
Besides, it's alright because I found someone. I found someone new to love. I want to be with you, Yukito.
We're then immediately thrown into a flashback of the past where we see Princess Kana suffering from the pain that comes with confessing her love to Ryuya. This then immediately jumps us back to present where we see a very similar situation playing out now. Our next scene shows us Mizuzu feeling the effects of the illness that she has, as she's explaining to Haruko that she understands that the illness that she has does get in the way of quite a bit and makes it hard on just about everyone, and goes into how she realizes that it always gets worse and things get really bad when she finds someone that she likes. She then goes into how, even with Haruko herself, it hurts when she admits that she loves her, but it's a tolerable pain because she cares about her so much. Shortly after this, Yukito confesses to not only himself but to us, the viewer, about how he really feels concerning Mizuzu.
You are more beautiful than anything I've met in my entire life. You're so sweet and gentle. You've moved my soul more than any other girl could. You're mysterious, you're blinding, and your voice is calming, soothing, almost making me forget my restless, wandering ways.
The scene itself carried on a little bit longer after that, but you pretty much got all the really important stuff he was saying there. With that said, the next day comes, the sun is out, it's a beautiful day, and the festival begins. This same day, Yukito decides to leave. Haruko gets the kimono ready in time for the festival, and in Mizuzu's overwhelming excitement, she rushes out to show Yukito how she looks in her kimono, only to find that he left without telling anyone. We next have a scene where Haruko gets a call from who you'll soon find out is Mizuzu's actual father. We then cut back to Mizuzu, who's explaining the next stage of Princess Kana's story. In the flashback, we're told that Ryuya has to leave Kana and go back to the capital as he was summoned by the Emperor. Kana then finds a resolve to make her dream come true with the rest of her life, and that is to fly and see the sky and meet with the mother that she could never meet. Mizuzu's father tells her that she's going to move away and live with him because there's a big hospital near where he lives so they can find out what's wrong with her there. Mizuzu, of course, is opposed to it and tries to get Haruko to get him to stop trying to take her with him. This then leads us into that oh-so-classic scene where insert parental figure tells insert main character that he and or she is the one who called the person to take him away because they can't deal with the problems or with the stress from taking care of insert main character anymore. And this, of course, is to make the main character hate whatever the parental and or guidance figure is so that they'd be more inclined to do what's necessary in order to save that main character's life. And here we have Yukito at the same bus stop where we first found him after he got into the town. Sky decides to pay him a visit, supposedly with the intent to get him to go back to Mizuzu. He doesn't take this too well as he tries swatting him away, but to no avail. A bus then pulls up, letting Yukito know that there will be no further buses taking him out of town due to the festival. So he decides to hitch a ride back into town so that he can go to the festival and put on the puppet show like he originally planned on doing from the beginning. Mizuzu's father then calls Haruko again to inform her that while they were stuck in traffic, Mizuzu somehow slipped away without him noticing. And how did he not notice a car door opening? Granted, she didn't close the door because it showed you in a previous scene, but still, a car door is not exactly quiet. That being said, Haruko heads out to help look for her. We now jump right back into Tales from the Past as Mizuzu goes on to further elaborate and call an end to the story of Princess Kana. Ryuya helps Kana escape, or at least tries to, as he's walking through the guards like they're nothing. And remember those spin tops? Yeah, those are deadly.
Come along now, Princess. We should really get moving before their reinforcements arrive.
Right, let's go. They knew there was nothing now. Nothing to hope nor to fear. Now that they were ready to give up their lives, the two even smiled as they approached the remaining guards.
Haruko finds Yukito shortly after his puppet show to let him know that Mizuzu is missing and that they can't find her. He then, after a little bit, decides to help look for her because he admits to abandoning her as well. And the sudden change almost feels a little too rushed, but it's a relatively minor thing. We then cut back to Mizuzu giving us the end of the Princess Kana story. While Ryuya is holding off the guards, Princess Kana disrobes so she can release her wings and fly. This is where things start to go south. Princess Kana is almost immediately riddled with arrows as she takes off while Ryuya himself is run through. Although riddled with arrows, Princess Kana does make it out of the palace as she's on her way to where her mother Yaobikini is being held on the opposite side of the mountain. When she gets close, she calls out to her and Yaobikini responds by breaking her own chains and escaping the room. After this, she's immediately run through by every guard outside of the prison cell that she was being held in, and it's assumed that she dies. Now, this is a little odd that they have her killed off in the story, as, well, you remember this.
Yaobikini, who had gained eternal life by eating the flesh of the mermaid.
Regardless of contradicting what you stated earlier in the movie, Mizuzu then goes on to continue the story, saying how Kana herself didn't actually die, nor did she fall from the sky. She just remains floating in the sky as the feathers from her wings perpetually fall. We then cut to a scene where Yukito and Haruko are arguing about where they can look to find Mizuzu because they can't find her. It's then that Yukito meets Mizuzu's father and does possibly the most Edward Elric thing to respond to what her father says.
There you are, Haruko.
Oh, hi, Keisuke.
I just remembered that I'm supposed to be home to take a call from the office tonight, so I'm gonna have to head out. Hey, who are you?
You'll do more good there anyway. If you want to go home, you don't need an excuse, miserable bastard.
We then have a scene where, like in most key animated shows, insert supernatural force here to show Yukito where Mizuzu is actually hiding. Yes, like all parallels drawn between past and present in this movie, Mizuzu was in the shrine where Princess Kana used to be kept in the past, and Yukito confesses how he feels toward her, and they share a very tender scene. We then have a scene with Yukito after everything is said and done, as he tells us, the viewer, about him and Haruko's final moments with Mizuzu on the beach looking over at the ocean, much like Princess Kana had originally wanted to do earlier on.
Yeah, it's perfect. Now just stay where you are, you two. Don't move a muscle.
What on earth are you trying to do, Mizuzu?
I'm gonna reach my goal.
Goal? What goal?
It's for my happiest summer ever. Because you're my real mom. My favorite person in the whole wide world. And because I got to meet Yukito. I met him this summer too. He's my second favorite person.
Second? Huh?
You two are the finish line.
We're what? What do you mean, finish line? What are you talking about? Mizuzu!
No, please don't move. I still have time to reach my goal. It'll be the last time. I want to reach you.
Mizuzu, you've been trying so hard. You can't quit on us now. You were too tired for school, but you still wanted to go. You've always done your best, no matter how lonely you were. You can't just give up now.
Mom, you can tell. It's okay, isn't it? It's okay if I reach my goal. Just one more step.
Mizuzu!
And I reach my goal.
Mizuzu!
Thank you for everything. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Yukito.
Mizuzu, you've got it wrong. This isn't the finish line. This is where everything is just beginning for you. Do you hear me? This is where everything is supposed to start. Because now we're all a family. From this moment, from now on, isn't that right? Mizuzu.
As for me, where to now? I don't know. Where on earth would I want to be? If you really want to know, maybe you should ask Misuzu. 'Cause I got a feeling she's gonna be with me.
That always fucks me up, that ending. Anyway, this was Air the Motion Picture. This was a movie adaptation of a 13-episode anime. Now, one of the pitfalls that the anime itself fell through was, since it's an adaptation of a visual novel, they had to introduce all the female heroines in the game for the show because they had the allotted time to do so. This, at times, with a lot of anime, can bog down the story, which the movie for Air completely eliminates by having any other heroines much in the background. Like, you may only see them pass by the screen once. That being said, the story choosing to focus only on Misuzu definitely paid off great. Another change from the anime was a couple of the character personalities, mainly just Haruko's personality. Since the anime, again, had 13 episodes, she started out as a very distant, not caring, outwardly but secretly very concerned person, where in the movie she's very in your face about how much she cares about Misuzu. Where, again, in the show, she was very distant from her and almost didn't seem to care much about her, and throughout the show, kind of, as Misuzu's condition is getting worse, is feeling more connected to her. That being said, a couple other changes are slight changes in character design, with a major one to Ryuya. Like, this is Ryuya in the anime. Same thing with Haruko, but it's very minor in her case. Now, to my surprise, as far as the animation and visuals go, they're absolutely gorgeous and just beautiful. And for a while, I thought that Key animated the movie itself. But although this is a Key property, the credit to the movie's animation has to go to Toei Animation. Yeah, that's right, the studio that brought us Sailor Moon, Fist of the North Star, and Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z animated this absolutely gorgeous movie. With that said, if you find a copy of this laying around, absolutely jump on it. This is a must-own. You have to buy it if you come across it. The music is absolutely beautiful. Again, the animation and art is gorgeous to look at. The story is very good. With that said, our next video, which I will put out in 2 weeks as the first request that I've gotten for a show on Recall Reviews. It'll go back to my original style of video. With that said, we have Psycho Pass. Tune in next time.